We are now on the third property of reaction of acid and bases. This one is reaction of acid with base or reaction of base with acid. As you have been learning since lower classes that acid reacts with base to give salt and water. So what is different that we will study? Now before that, something which you also know that this is such a reaction is called neutralization reaction, right? So whenever an acid reacts with base, a neutral substance is formed, right? The salt is which is a neutral substance and water is released. And that's the reason why it's called neutralization reaction. In most cases, it is exothermic in nature. One such example, as you can see given here, that an HCl, which is a strong mineral acid, reacts with sodium hydroxide to give us salt, sodium chloride, the same salt, which we say also say kitchen salt or say sea salt, table salt. It's known with different names and water is released. So the general reaction, as it is clear now, that acid reacts with base to give salt and water. Now, what is different that you're going to study in this class is the salt not necessarily be neutral or as always, right? Look into these reactions. The salt so formed can be acidic, can be basic, or can be neutral. The salt strength of whether it's an acidic, basic, or neutral determined by the weight. I mean, we seem to say that which is more strong. I mean, if this acid is strong, right, then the salt will be acidic, means to say when an strong acid reacts with a weak base, the salt will be acidic in nature. Likewise, if the base is strong, right, and the acid is weak, the salt so formed will be a basic salt. And likewise, you can see that if both of them is either weak or both of them is either strong, in that case the salt will be neutral. So this is what the general reactions involved in whenever an acid reacts with base. Based on this concept, I have taken some questions here. That means in order to determine whether the salt so produced is acidic or basic in nature, for that you should know that this is determined by the for that you should know the parent base or the parent acid. Let's see the first one. It says, what is the color of litmus in the aqueous solution of ammonium chloride? Let me write down first ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride should be, let me write down. And ammonium chloride is what? NH4Cl. As you can see clearly here, the ammonium chloride is formed by ammonia and chlorine. The parent base of ammonium chloride is what? NH4OH. And the parent acid for Cl has to be what? HCl. Now you can clearly see that this is obtained from a strong acid and a weak base, ammonium hydroxide. You must know that this is a weak base and hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. Therefore, the salt so formed, that is this salt so formed must be acidic in nature, as the strength of acid is more than the strength of the base. Therefore, it is acidic in nature and the color of the litmus will be red in this case. The next part, we have to find the salt which will give acidic solution on dissolving in water. Clearly, we have to find acidic salt. So let's take the first example. This is potassium chloride. You need to understand the parent base has to be KOH and Cl can be obtained from HCl, or the parent acid is hydrochloric acid. Now you must know that both of them are strong, right? Both of them are strong. Therefore, the salt will be neutral in nature. Now next, NH4Cl, we just did. NH4Cl is made up of, that is ammonium hydroxide as the base and HCl as the acid. So this is going to be, as you know, strength of acid is more, is a strong acid, and this is a weak base. Therefore, the solution will be acidic in nature. Now that is what they're asking for, the salt which will give acidic solution, and acidic solution is obtained from a salt which is acidic in nature, and it is clear that this NH4Cl is an acidic salt, and therefore it will turn the solution acidic. Similar to the previous question, this time we have to find an alkaline solution. That means the one which is a basic salt. Let's write one by one. If I write this is sodium carbonate Na2CO3. Clearly, this sodium carbonate, the parent base of this has to be sodium hydroxide, which is a strong base, and carbonate can be carbonic acid, that is HCO3. You know that carbonic acid is a weak acid, and sodium hydroxide being a strong base, right? Therefore, the salt will be basic in nature, which will make the solution alkaline. As you know, those bases which are soluble in water are called alkaline solution, or the solution is called the alkaline solution, and these are called alkalis. So therefore, this is the correct answer. This part, that is the next one, we have to obtain a neutral solution, right? So if you know that a neutral solution can be obtained when both of them, right, with both acid as well as base, has to be both of them strong or both of them are weak. So let's see which of them possible case. The first one is this is CH3COONA, that is sodium acetate. Now we can see that it is made up of acetate. That means its parent acid must be acetic acid, that is a weak acid, and the sodium, which its parent base must be sodium hydroxide, which is a strong base. So clearly you can see that is it's made up from a strong base and a weak acid. Therefore, this salt is going to be basic in nature. So this is not our correct answer. Now we are looking for a neutral one. If I see the next one, I think we did it. This is ammonium chloride. Its parent base has to be NH4OH, which is a weak base, and chlorine, the parent acid is HCl, that's a strong acid. So again, this is weak base and this one is strong acid. So the salt will be acidic in nature. So again, this is not the correct answer. Now, as we proceed to the next part, this is potassium chloride. Potassium chloride. So potassium, whose parent base is KOH, that is a strong base. KOH is a strong base, and chlorine is from the parent acid called hydrochloric acid, and it's a strong acid. As you can see, both of them are strong. Therefore, the salt so formed will be neutral in nature. So the correct answer for this is going to be KCl. Now we are doing one last question that's based on the same concept to identify the type of salts formed in this case. Like this question says that which of these salts will be acidic, basic, or neutral in nature. So if you can identify its parent base and the parent acid, you can answer it. So I'm taking the first example, which is sodium carbonate Na2CO3. The parent base has to be sodium hydroxide, and carbonate, that is carbonic acid, HCO3, right? So this is a weak base, weak acid, and this being a strong base. So clearly the salt so formed will be basic in nature, right? So this it's basic or alkaline in nature. Now coming to the next part, it is NaCl. Now most of you must be knowing that NaCl is actually sodium chloride. It's formed from, it's a neutral salt, like as most of you must be knowing. So it's formed from this strong base, that is NaOH, and a strong acid as well, right? That is HCl. So this must be a neutral one. So this is a neutral solution, or the solution formed after dissolving water, obviously, but otherwise a neutral in nature. Coming to the third part, this is ammonium hydroxide. Ammonia, as you know, that this is ammonium hydroxide. Well, ammonium hydroxide itself is a weak base, right? It's not a salt, right? It's not a salt. It's a weak base, right? So clearly, we'll write this as basic solution. We'll give a basic solution. Now, for the next part, this is potassium, that is K2SO4. Potassium, the parent base has to be KOH, and the parent acid has to be H2SO4. Now what you can see here that KOH is a strong base. So the parent base is strong here, right? And H2SO4 is a strong acid. Here both of them is strong, right? This is a strong base and this being a strong acid. So both of them are strong. So therefore it's going to be neutral in nature, right? So this is going to be neutral in nature. Coming to the next one, it's NH4. This is NH2SO4. That's NH. That must be NH4 too, right? There's some problem. SO4. This is a weak base, that is NH4OH from the weak base, and the parent acid here is H2SO4. This being a strong acid and this being a weak base. So therefore the salt is going to be acidic, right? This is going to be an acidic solution. The last one is this, that is sodium acetate. The sodium acetate, so the parent base will be strong base. That is, let me write down CH3COONA. The parent acid has to be acetic acid, that is CH3COOH, and this is a weak acid. Well, the base is sodium hydroxide, which is a strong base, right? So therefore the salt has to be basic in nature or alkaline in nature. So we'll be categorizing them as alkaline. That means this one, or basic solution.